sort of one lone building. They built the seminary building in 1890. They used clay from the, and they created bricks from the clay and the mud of the river, near the river. And that's part of the benefit of this site particularly, was they could create their own bricks here rather than having to have those made elsewhere. And they constructed the seminary building, but you had this lone building in the middle of basically farmland. And so it was a pretty kind of an empty and interesting sort of early experience for folks who came here just to have that one building.
The seminary building is where the administration building is now, and it was the only building on campus for a long time. Until 1890, it was ready.
In 1905, this was February, that building was 15 years old. They had already outgrown it. So there was conversation among the board and others to say we were probably going to eventually need to do something about it. Now, do I think they were going to do that, in the immediate future? They had a lot of other things they needed to do. They needed a science building, they needed a gymnasium, they needed a lot of these other buildings that they were trying to prioritize.
They could easily have said, well, that didn't work. But when you think about the heating systems in those days, buildings quite often did burn. And since that was the entire campus, without that and without money to rebuild, they wouldn't have had a place to continue. During that time, the President Weir, said we just need to get out and get to work and raise the money. And he got out and he went all over the country, and he like I said, they had people from Chicago and who also got Andrew Carnegie involved. And
that campus model you're referring to was actually done in 1962. So we're jumping kind of a big fast forward there from the really early time of campus. If you look at kind of an overhead view of campus, the administration building, those early buildings are all kind of facing towards Buchanan City. And we went through a long period of time where we added buildings kind of on that side and kept everything sort of on this one side of campus. In the 1960s, by the time we got to that, when Stanley Martin was the president at Wesleyan.
Stanley Martin was here. He's the one who created that full campus plan that you've seen downstairs in the library. And it was his dream, that was his dream. So there was really, sometimes there was 20, 30 years between buildings because there was no money. And so you just did with what you had. In the 60s, we had incredible growth, and that all was pretty much been given, Stanley Martin, Dr. Martin really did have that goal, and he was tireless. He went out and did all the fundraising and created all the things. And so pretty much if you want to think about the campus as it is today, you have to think this is Stanley Martin's campus.